Well, former Georgia Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is now admitting to several meetings with White House officials during his time on the state's Trump case. Now, that's coming from a newly released transcript of Wade's deposition on Capitol Hill last week. Wade resigned from the Trump probe back in March after his romantic relationship with Fulton County DA Fani Willis came to light. Mike Emanuel is live in Washington with the latest details. Mike.
Emily, good afternoon. In his meeting with lawmakers and congressional staff, Nathan Wade's memory was a little fuzzy. Wade was asked, quote, did the interview with D.C. White House, to your recollection, involve anyone from the Department of Justice? Answer, I don't recall. On another matter, Wade was a little more clear when he was asked, quote, and did anyone in the White House direct you or, to your knowledge, anyone else at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office to file charges against Donald Trump? Answer, no, ma'am. Wade was on Capitol Hill 1 week ago for that questioning. In May 2022, Wade billed for a meeting with the White House counsel's office at his hourly rate of $250. But when asked about it, Wade could not detail the purpose of the meeting. Wade used some version of I don't recall more than 30 times when questioned by lawmakers and staff during closed-door testimony. The House Judiciary Chairman says Wade's 2022 visit to Washington sounds very political.
You got the whole thing with Nathan Wade, taxpayer money going to Nathan Wade. He was traveling to Washington, meeting with the DOJ, the White House, the January 6th committee, all in this effort to go after President Trump.
Wade left the Trump case due to his romantic relationship with Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Willis warned Wade against revealing case details to lawmakers, noting the risk of harming ongoing legal proceedings. The newly released transcript says Wade met with Biden administration staff on at least 2 occasions during the Fani Willis probe into former President Trump. Emily?
Mike, thank you. Harris, what are voters to make of this?
You know, it's interesting because they're both so very different, right? I mean, you've got Fani Willis and you've got her lover, and the only 2 things that they have in common was take down Trump, and they tried to do that. I'm not so sure that the Justice Department shouldn't have jumped in here early and taken a real good look at this. Because I want to know, is this happening in other places around the country? And with him now bringing forth information so late in the game, why didn't we know this before? And why is everything always right before an election? I mean, it's important to know what is going on, but was this legal warfare? Is that really close to, you know, really truthful? It looks like it was, in fact. It looks like we could have used these receipts a while ago. So why is the DOJ involved? This is a presidential candidate that this had to do with. Which, by the way, I mean, we wouldn't get that attention from the DOJ, but shouldn't somebody who's running for the country?
So, Kayleigh, to Harris's point, we need answers, but frankly, none were revealed. That's the whole point. There weren't receipts. He says, I don't know why I was having these meetings at the White House. I billed for it, but I can't articulate why I was there. So the question is it incompetence? Is it fraud? And is it an absolute travesty of the justice system? To Harris's point, this is a presidential candidate.
Yes.
And no matter what, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are so many questions. Nathan Wade, I'm not obviously in his head, thankfully, but Nathan Wade, I mean, you have this May 2022 meeting with the White House counsel's office, and you bill $250 per an hour, and you don't know what the meeting's about. You don't have a record of the meeting. I mean, you know this, Emily. In law, when you have billable hours, you write with some level of specificity what you did during the hour. It's not just trip to D.C., pay me X number of dollars. It's trip to D.C. to discuss X, Y, or Z. So he didn't keep any detailed notes, it seems. Then you go to November 2022, where he does not remember why he met with the White House. This is a local Georgia prosecutor. When you meet with the White House, let me tell you, I mean, I did it at the federal level when I was outside of the White House just working on the campaign. You remember why you meet with the White House. It's a huge deal. And for a local Georgia prosecutor, this is a massive deal. But his memory evades him. And I just remember his interview with Caitlin Collins, where a consultant had to step in and stop him from answering something, and they had to go confer to the side, and then he comes back. Not in his head, but I don't know why he doesn't have a memory of this.
Your point about the billing, you know, Kennedy, there are that specificity is required for ethics reasons. So you do not just say meeting. You actually do have to, within 30 days, specify exactly to the 0.6 of a minute or the 0.6 of a quarter hour, what exactly were you doing? So that was a long time ago. Those notes were certainly reflected in those business accountings. We also know that now he had to take a racketeering class before joining the prosecution team. The caliber dealing with a presidential candidate, to me, seems shocking that you would pull in an attorney that needs a course on what to do.
Primer.
And
Yes.
there were a couple issues here that struck me, and that was one, the fact that he had such a hard time with his memory, but he could remember down to the semicolon what he was talking about and those billable hours notes, but couldn't remember if he went to the White House. Like, I remember when I went to the White House, it was the summer before my senior year. I was a Girls Nation, and I was in the choir. And George H.W. Bush landed on Marine One and got out, and we all sang the Star-Spangled Banner. It was one of the best memories of my entire childhood. So I remember that. He would remember that. And I worry that he has to go see Joe Biden's Alzheimer's specialist if he's having such a difficult time remembering these massive events in his career. And also, you know, why did it take 4 years? Brian Kohberger and P. Diddy, who have much more complex cases, will see the inside of a courtroom much sooner than this president.
That's right. And to that point, who believes that he can't remember? So I'm sorry, this is seemingly sniffing of a lot worse things now.
Yeah, I think that I don't recall is his way of not saying what he absolutely knows and does remember. I mean, Kayleigh's point is exactly what struck me. Right? This guy, I don't think, with all due respect to Nathan Wade, I don't think he had many appointments at the White House over the course of his career. Now he shows up in the middle of this political snafu, and just his memory has gone blank about why he was there and what the point of that discussion was. I don't think anyone believes that. And to the RICO point, so the whole theory of this case around going after and prosecuting Donald Trump in the state of Georgia requires RICO, a whole complex RICO prosecution. This man had literally zero experience in that realm whatsoever. So they sent him to like remedial RICO school to run a case against the former president of the United States.
No sense.
And they did this because he was sleeping with the DA, right? What a mess. And their explanations or lack thereof, I think they speak for themselves.
So why
It's
was
clear.
he at the White House? I mean, I understand the DOJ, but why go to the White House? You know, if this is a Georgia case, and if there are federal aspects, fine. Go to the DOJ, but the White House, I mean, that seems like overtly political if he's meeting with White House officials.
I mean, frankly, it smacks of a backroom deal. To your point, what went on? I mean, it is so patently absurd for a local prosecutor to be meeting with a federal level.
Right.
The DOJ, I could maybe see, hey, we want to work with you. We want to make, even that is a stretch. I'm just thinking outside the box. The White House, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, and James Carville said it. We've tried everything. I won't do the cussing. But very early on, months ago, he was saying how we've tried everything and nothing is sticking. So was there a coordinated effort? I think this is a treasure trove of evidence of the potentiality for that. We certainly know they hate him, as I said before. Two lanes can be true, the White House and this prosecutor.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm not too frequently embarrassed by my colleagues, but that level of that type of behavior from these attorneys, it's really a shame. It's really a shame. I think we'll see some ethics accountability moving forward as well.
Hope so.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.